Introduce the Monroe Doctrine to everyone. Really, before we even get into that, what I'll do now, I want to really make sure we're clear on what the concept behind the Monroe Doctrine is, that being foreign policy. So what we're going to do at the beginning, just take a couple minutes, about 3 minutes, I would say, good for these questions. I want you to just take a look at what we have on the board here. First off, how would you go to define foreign policy? If you had to put it in your own words, what do you think you would come up with? And maybe if that concept is a little foreign at the moment, you don't really know too much about foreign policy, if you could piece the words together, like what foreign means, what policy is. But if not, let's just go to that second question there. What are some of the events going on in the world today? Once you guys are done with this, I'm going to take a couple answers from the crowd, write them on the board, and then importantly, what is America's role in those events you came up with? Combine that ultimately to the Monroe Doctrine, what America's role was in the 1800s. All right, so get started. Take about 2-3 minutes, answer those questions that's on the board. All right? So the main question for us today is, how does the Monroe policy, or Monroe Doctrine, affect foreign policy? And we'll go try to make modern connections. At the end of the class, I'll show you guys a clip. The Cuban Missile Crisis. A lot of people say that's a modern example of how the Monroe Doctrine was implemented. But first, of course, we'll look at actually Monroe Doctrine. I have the document with us. I broke it down into themes. Take a look at the themes. We'll go from there. First, just take a look at what are some of our world events. 30 more seconds. We'll wrap up your answers. Everyone should be responsible. I'll try to get as many answers from everyone as possible, so everyone's on the hook for at least one idea on one of these questions. All right, let's bring it back as a class. We'll take a look at the first one. First one, just discuss together. So what do you guys think? What are some ideas? How would you define foreign policy? Even just like I said, put it in your own words. We're not looking for textbook definition. Tucker?
A country's policies, agreements, and/or treaties with foreign nations.
Good, yeah, definitely. Policies, the way the government acts with nations globally, around the world. Anyone want to add to what Tucker said, perhaps? Thank you.
The relation between one country and another.
Go ahead. Foreign policy definitely refers to the relationships between those two nations. See, America, of course, has a lot of relationships with a lot of countries. Some are good, some not so well. We'll take a look at current events, ties into that second one. So let's take a couple examples. What's going on in the world today? And we'll tie into what Nick and what Tucker were referring to as foreign policy. Christian?
The war to be in Iran.
Ah, good, yeah. Everyone's talking about how war with Iran could be a possibility. Especially that Israel's involved. America's main ally is Israel. If those two countries go to war, America probably will enter to protect its strategic interests and its relationships. Jimmy?
Terrorism.
Terrorism, always, yeah. That hasn't disappeared. America's still the leading country in this war on terror. What are some other things? Maybe someone from this side of the room? Josh, you come up with anything?
I said like the Israel, the movie, but that like has the war kind of
Alright.
together.
Is there anything going on maybe in other parts of the world?
I said Iran has embargoed its trade with oil with several countries like France.
Good, yeah, we'll take that, we'll blow it up a bit, just with oil. Or maybe just there's an energy crisis. Something like that's truly a global affair. Take it on a more local level. We feel that pain at the pump. Like gas prices continue to rise, and analysts say they might even go up to $5 or so. Tucker, I saw your hand.
Bankruptcy in Europe.
Good, yeah, the Europe banking crisis.
Greece.
Greece especially. Whereas Italy wasn't too far behind on that one. Tamisha?
Germany also has, their economy isn't really so well. It's getting really bad.
Which country?
Germany.
Germany. Oh, well, maybe I would just take that, repackage that as maybe the general, the countries in Europe. All their economies seem to be faltering at the moment. Luckily, Germany's one of those that everyone goes to Germany for a handout. They've been paying. We'll take about, all right, Wendy with Brown in the town. Brown?
There's that thing going on in Africa.
What would be with the Coney 2012 video? Alright, so in Africa we know there's a lot of civil war. That's pretty much what that video is referring to. So actually, so we'll put that down. We have civil wars in Africa. Seen a couple of them. Libya is always one. And then Tom.
New election in Russia.
You're very good. You have the elections in Russia. Russians are going to elect a new leader. There's been some debate as to how free those elections are. Alright, fantastic list. Let's look at these same ones we all came up with here. What would then be America's role in these events? So Josh, just tell me which one you're referring to, and we'll see what the role is.
Like for the first one, that you try to protect the countries you have alliances with, or protect the beliefs that the country was founded on, like freedom, democracy.
Alright, good. So war with Iran, probably going to work to protect our strategic interests, protect our ally Israel. Nick?
In the elections with Russia, before the current leader was elected, we weren't on really good terms, and America is definitely interested in keeping those good terms that we have.
Very true. So maybe elections hope a bit of optimism for our good relationship with Russia.
Well, I know a couple of them we probably wouldn't do anything with, like the election and the banking crisis. I don't think America would actually have any part in that.
Alright, do you think there's any reason behind that, Christian? Is there anyone, is there a
They have
reason?
no power in that, saying like the election, like what can Americans do to help that? Not that they-
Maybe there's some world events that we don't have a role in, or maybe we should think that we should take a back seat. Fumi, you want to add to that?
And also with the banking crisis, like we have our own to worry about.
Good, yeah. And that's a big thing with foreign policy today. It's a big debate. Should America have, so to speak, its hand in all the cookie jars around the world? Or should we be focused more so maybe on the problems at home? The economy is a big one about that. We'll go last one, Brianna.
Maybe with the energy crisis, we would start focusing on finding new resources for energy.
Yeah, America could have to take a proactive approach. Maybe alternative energies. We also don't rule out maybe we drill into more areas. Take a multi-step approach to the energy crisis. All right, so this may be the good part. Now we're moving on to that last question there. Take a step back to about the last chapter or so. With our role in all these events you guys came up with, do you remember what role the government wanted America to take in the early part of the country, the early 1800s, or even so far back maybe at the time of George Washington? Ron?
Didn't we say we wanted to keep to ourselves?
Good, yeah, neutrality.
Yeah, and that's what we learned last chapter with Washington's farewell address, not to become really strong allies with one particular country like we are now with Israel.
Sure, yeah, there's no entangling alliances, Tom.
The James Monroe learned to protect certain American countries.
Good, yeah, and that's what we're going to be moving into today with the Monroe Doctrine. Will be that topic and how that policy may be transformed a bit from Washington to Monroe.
And they did not want to trade America.
Well, that was it. Remember with
Shut off
Jefferson,
trade.
with the war with France, the embargo? Very good, Lily.
And then we would like attack or take it as a defense, go on defense against anyone who would land on like our soil.
Good, yeah, our Western Hemisphere. And that's what we're going to move into now. So as you guys see on the board, we have a political cartoon up on there projected. This cartoon is seen to represent the Monroe Doctrine, the essence of the Monroe Doctrine. All right? Because I want you guys to think, just take a minute. I want you to just list down everything that you see in this cartoon and what you think this relates to. All right? Do that now. See all the different guys? If it's hard to see, you got the hat there. Everything you see, and then maybe, why do you think it's there? What purpose does it serve? So let's, like I said, we'll just have a conversation. I'd like to hear from some new people though, so maybe we're going to up the participation. Allison, what are some things you see in this cartoon and you notice? What do they work to represent?
His hat to represent that that's our territory.
Good, yeah, you see, whose hat do you think is?
Uncle Sam.
Yeah, remember we got the character of Uncle Sam? Alright, you see the stars and stripes? He has his hat placed down on South America. Allison says to show maybe that possession of the United States. What are some observations?
It
Christian?
would be the French and the Italian soldiers to not let them come into our land, keeping them away.
Yeah, these definitely represent the countries of Europe. And it's kind of at bay. Uncle Sam's kind of has a very defensive pose on the western side of the hemisphere. Lily?
Hemispheres is unified under him. They're all like separate leaders over there.
Very good, yeah, that's a good observation. You have all different people, probably representing all different ideals. Uncle Sam's kind of the sole spokesman. Josh?
The two hemispheres are almost like entirely separated that show like that the US wanted to be like by themselves without like interference with Europe.
Yeah, the globe usually would be connected. This one really trying to do that difference. Lastly, Brown?
It looks like Europe is like looking in and they want to be a part of whatever America's doing, but America's alone on the other side of the world.
Yeah, Europe would definitely want some involvement in the American last question we got before we move on to the next activity. Looking at what we talked about, modern day. I know you guys mentioned a little bit about Washington, a little later. What role does this cartoon show as what position America has in foreign policy in the time of James Monroe? And what do you think this will lead to when we read the document? What is our role in foreign policy as shown through this cartoon? I'll just rehash what you guys were mentioning. What position do we play in the eyes of Monroe?
That he thinks we shouldn't be involved in all of this.
Good, yeah, man. Forget what's on the other side, like just said, it's separated. Focus on our hemisphere. Anything else about our position in the globe?
That like any crisis that happens in the Eastern Hemisphere, we're not really going to include ourselves in. We're just going to stay by ourselves.
Good. We involve ourselves in the events of the Western Hemisphere. Anything that is involved in the Western Hemisphere becomes an interest of the Americans. Brown?
And also we accept neutrality and we don't get into wars.
Good, yeah.
Don't pick sides.
We'll stay out of the wars in Europe. You stay out of the events in the Western Hemisphere. Very good. At this point, I'm going to pass out the document. We're actually going to take a look at what it says.